Hello and welcome to Toby's Sideshow of Scale Styrene. Today we're going to look at one of my favorite Aurora monster models, that being King Kong. This is a figure based on the 1933 original King Kong, starring Fay Wray as Ann Darrow. And this is the original box art that came out back in 1964. The box art was done by James Bama, and the actual sculpture was done by Adam Larry Elling. In 1970, they came out with the glow-in-the-dark King Kong in these Aurora square boxes with the big A. And then in 1970, Monogram did something just absolutely hideous, and they came out with the Luminators Neon Monsters. I'm sure this made Marion C. Cooper roll over in his grave when he saw this fluorescent pink translucent King Kong, but I guess it sold well enough. I find these kits just absolutely awful. The plastic is very brittle, it doesn't glue well, and over time it disintegrates, especially under black lights where you can make it glow. So I shy away from them, and I really don't like them, and I don't collect them. And as I'm a person who builds and not just collects, I have never bothered to get a pink King Kong. The one I do have, well, before I move on to the one I do have, let's look at the instruction sheet, because this is something that a lot of people argue about. Which way does the Ann Darrow figure face? Does she face outward, or does she, into the jungle, or does she face King Kong looking at him? Well, according to the box art, all of the box art, the Illuminator has her looking at. The glow-in-the-dark has her looking away. The original artwork has her looking away. The instructions have her looking away. So only in the Illuminators does she actually face Kong. It's really up to you which way you want to do her. The main reason people have her looking towards Kong is because it seems like her hair falls more naturally. An interesting thing here is the instructions originally said that this model was in 1/25th scale. The Ann Darrow figure is a little small for 1/25th scale. I think she comes in closer to like a 1/32nd scale. I also love this thing about use Aurora styrene glue. Now onto the kit that I have. I have this one. Notice it's a little bit different on the box, but it is a long box King Kong. This one came out in 2000. We know that because it says so right here. And it was released through by Revell Monogram, but manufactured by Playing Mantis. The cool thing is it was made in the USA back in 2000. And it's a pretty good rendition. And this is what I have. As you can tell, I've changed it significantly from the box art. And this will be my 360 go-around. So you'll see a little bit more of it. I did my best originally to hide some of the seams. Over time, some of those seams have opened up from just moving things around and everything. I was using white putty by Squadron to fill the seams, and some of it is now showing through in the despite all the various shades of painting I've done and everything. And a lot of it involved having to take an X-Acto knife and scoring out some of his fur lines and everything that are in the fur. As you can tell, the base has been significantly changed. Not to mention he's no longer holding Ann Darrow. So, let's get to the base and all the other changes that I've done on this kit. First, we have Ann Darrow and the giant ape skull. The Ann Darrow figure obviously is from somewhere else, and that is the Vikings from Phoenix, and you see it's a 1/32 scale metal kit. I got this kit probably back in 1980. It predates when I got the King Kong figure. The figure is like from the Lindisfarne Vikings series, and this one was the Viking chieftain and his captive. The other thing you'll notice on there was the large ape skull, and that came from the Mammal Skulls by Safari Limited in one of their tubes. The other skulls that I got along with it are shown here. There's a giraffe skull, and looks like a walrus and a rhino and a couple other animals. The only skull I used was the ape skull. I'll probably end up using these probably in some kind of 1/13 scale kind of thing or something. I'm not sure where I'll be using them, but they're kind of cool. I just don't know where I'm going to use them yet, but so right now they're in the parts box. Another look at Andero. She's done with a base coat of white, which helps with when you're painting the white metal, and then she's been painted with various flesh tones from Tamiya and then other colors, and her hair is done in yellow because even though Fay Wray was a brunette, she wore a blonde wig for the movie, and they made a big point of her being a blonde in the movie. And the dress that she's wearing is a light purple. I think that's actually the enamel paint by Testors. Their Testors light purple, but I might have specially mixed it using Tamiya colors. I'm not sure. As you notice, there's these vines running along here. Those are actually twisted pieces of paper towels soaked in white glue and then colored with browns and blacks and everything. And I'll explain a little bit more about the vines in a little bit as we go around a little more. Another view of Fay Wray, and you can see the large ape skull in the background and more of the vines, and you see the cracked ground and everything. That's where the plaster dried and stuff, and I thought about fixing it, but then I figured what the heck, it doesn't really matter. It's just you know, a nasty cliff that she's on the edge of. If you remember from the movie, the protagonist saves Andero from Kong by skimming down the cliff using some vines, and that's where we have her now. And the skull, though it wasn't in the 1933 movie, later movies showed large ape skulls reminiscent of Kong's other brethren on the island who have long since gone. Another view of Andero, and shot from behind through the magic of Kong's eyes, Kong's legs rather. And you see a good shot of what is actually the original stand. I drilled holes in it where I needed to get the vines to anchor the vines and then move the vines around. The stand is done in various shades of browns and dark yellows and grays, and then washes of blacks and browns and lots of dry brushing and stuff. You see here some actual rocks from the garden that have also been painted because they did not blend in well if they were not painted, so I just painted those along. You see the skull here pretty well, and you notice that it looks a little better than the skulls that came in the kit, and that's because it's been given a wash of blacks and dark grays and such to better highlight it, and then certain portions of it were actually painted in with black, like the eye sockets and the nose and such. And the next thing we'll look at is the Pteranodon that King Kong is fighting, and that is actually a rubber Pteranodon by Papo. And the company makes a lot of different things, and they're all pretty cool, and they're very realistic looking. Despite that, I took and gave the Pteranodon numerous washes in dark green, olive drab, blacks and browns and stuff, and also did some dry brushing on it to better highlight the cracks in the wings and everything, and just make it look a little bit more realistic. And surprisingly, the paint held well on the rubbery plastic. Right now I have Kong biting the beak of the Pteranodon, but he is just placed in there so it's easy enough to loosen him up and reposition him if I want to. You also see Kong's face here with his eyes are brown. They're actually a different shade of brown than the rest of him, but it kind of just blends in with the lighting from the camera. I probably need to make his teeth a little more yellow because white just is too white. We all know that. And otherwise, you see a little more with the, if you notice here, like the tan and Kong's underbrush. That's from washes and such. And then followed by dry brushing with browns and blacks and such. And you can see a little bit better the highlighting of the wings, and that is from washes and blacks and greens. Another good view of the back of the Pteranodon, showing you all the detail and the scale work and everything in these wonderful claws that he has. Really an excellent figure, and if you're in the King Kong and other things of that nature, some of the Papo dinosaur figures fit well with it. They are basically in a about a 1/32 or 1/24 scale. Somewhere around there, they'll work either way. What you notice here is the gap forming from me shoving the wing into his palm, and it broke away from where the putty had been, and I probably need to fix that, but who knows. For right now, you know, it's a 20-year figure with local or more recent changes, so I don't know how much more I'll do with it. I'm still very happy with what I've got so far, even with some of the seams showing now. The bone here is from one of those Aurora diorama things that they made for their monster series. I don't remember the exact name what they call them, but they have the rats and the skulls and the lizards, and then they have the one with the tombstones and stuff. I think this is one of the bones from the tombstones, and there's another bone on the other side, which is a big thigh bone, and I figure they're about the right size for a nice big King Kong, so I just throw them in there. You notice the sign here, that's the original sign. I've got to do some touching up on that. It's obviously just gold with black in the background. And there we have it. That's my King Kong figure and the new base and diorama. What I need to do probably still is paint the wood around the edge. I don't know if I want to go with a gloss black or a gold, so I haven't gotten to that far yet. So as you know, no model is ever completed. It's always just where you're at the moment. So I'll probably end up doing more work on this eventually, but for right now I'm satisfied with what I've got. I hope you like what you've seen, and thanks for visiting. As always, comments are always welcome. Insults are cheerfully ignored. If you like what you've seen, please give me a subscription, and I'll subscribe back to you. Thanks for visiting again. Have a great day.